My sister blamed me for her divorce and my family abandoned me for that. 3 years later, I see her working at McDonald's and she asks for help, but then I get to know this shocking truth. I, 28M, come from a family where my elder sister Marie, 34F, has always been the golden child. Our parents doted on her, giving her everything she wanted while often neglecting my needs. Growing up, I learned to keep my head down and stay out of trouble, as any attempt to stand up for myself would result in punishment or ridicule. Marie got married to Lucas, 36M, when she was 25. I was happy for her, hoping that marriage would help her mature and become more responsible. However, I soon realized that wasn't the case. Marie continued her party lifestyle, often staying out late and coming home drunk. I overheard arguments between her and Lucas about her behavior, but our parents always defended Marie, saying Lucas was too controlling. About 2 years into their marriage, I started noticing signs that Marie might be cheating on Lucas. She would get mysterious calls late at night, hide her phone when anyone was around, and make up excuses to leave the house at odd hours. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was mounting. One day, I accidentally saw a text on Marie's phone from someone named L, talking about meeting up at a hotel. I was conflicted about what to do with this information. On one hand, I felt Lucas deserved to know the truth. On the other hand, I knew speaking up would only cause trouble for me. So I kept quiet, hoping the situation would resolve itself. Things came to a head when Marie introduced us to her friend, Liam, 32M. Liam started coming around our house frequently, and I couldn't help but notice the way he and Marie looked at each other. It was clear there was more going on between them than just friendship. The real turning point came during a family barbecue. My girlfriend Abigail, 27F, was there, and Liam took an immediate dislike to her. Throughout the evening, he made snide comments about her appearance and background. When Abigail excused herself to use the restroom, I overheard Liam telling Marie that she was way out of my league and that I should stick to my own kind. I was furious, but tried to keep my cool for Abigail's sake. However, things escalated when Liam accidentally spilled his drink on Abigail's dress. As she stood there, mortified and on the verge of tears, Liam laughed and made a crude joke about her now being in a wet t-shirt contest. That was the last straw. I confronted Liam, telling him to apologize to Abigail and leave. Marie jumped to Liam's defense, calling me oversensitive and saying it was just a joke. When I refused to back down, Marie turned to our parents, playing the victim as she always did. To my shock and disappointment, they sided with her, telling me I was ruining the party and should apologize to Liam. In that moment, something snapped inside me. Years of pent-up frustration and resentment came pouring out. I told everyone present about Marie's affair with Liam, showing them the texts I had seen on her phone. I even had pictures of them together at a hotel, which a friend had sent me after spotting them. The aftermath was chaos. Lucas was devastated, Marie was screaming at me, and our parents were in shock. In the days that followed, Lucas filed for divorce. Marie, instead of taking responsibility for her actions, blamed me for ruining her marriage. She cried to our parents, spinning a tale about how I had always been jealous of her and had made up lies to destroy her happiness. To my disbelief, our parents believed her. They accused me of betraying the family and causing unnecessary drama. When I tried to defend myself and point out Marie's history of infidelity, they refused to listen. My father told me I was no longer welcome in their house unless I apologized to Marie and retracted my lies. I couldn't believe it. After years of enduring Marie's selfish behavior and our parents' favoritism, I was being punished for finally standing up for myself and my girlfriend. I packed my things and left that night, with Abigail by my side, supporting me through it all. The next few months were tough. I had to find a new place to live and figure out how to support myself without any help from my family. Abigail was my rock during this time, helping me find a job and an apartment. We grew closer through this ordeal, and I realized she was the family I needed. It's been 3 years since that day. I've built a new life for myself in another state. Abigail and I got married last year, and I have a good job that I enjoy. We're happy, and I've learned to let go of the pain and anger I felt towards my family. I thought I had put that chapter of my life behind me until yesterday. I was grabbing lunch at a McDonald's drive-thru when I saw a familiar face at the window. It was Marie. She looked different, tired, older than her years. When she saw me, her eyes widened in recognition, and she quickly looked away, clearly embarrassed. I was shocked to see her working there, especially in a different state. As I drove away with my order, my mind was racing with questions. What happened to her? Why was she working at McDonald's? Where were our parents? After some internal debate, I decided to go back later during her break. I found her sitting alone outside, picking at a salad. When I approached her, she looked up, a mix of shame and defiance in her eyes. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice lacking the confidence it once had. I sat down across from her and asked, "What happened, Marie? Why are you here?" She hesitated for a moment before the story came pouring out. Apparently, things hadn't gone well for her after the divorce. Our parents had eventually thrown her out, unable to support her lifestyle anymore. She had moved in with Liam and followed him to this state when he said he had a job opportunity. But it turned out he was running from debt collectors. Now, she was stuck here, working this job to make ends meet while Liam was between jobs. As she finished her story, Marie looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I know I messed up," she said. "I've made so many mistakes, but I'm really struggling now. Is there any way you could help me out? Just a little money to get back on my feet?" I sat there, conflicted. Part of me wanted to help her. She was still my sister, after all. But another part remembered all the pain she had caused me and Abigail. I told her I'd think about it and left. Now I'm home, trying to process everything that happened. I haven't told Abigail about seeing Marie yet. I'm not sure what to do. Should I help Marie? Should I try to contact our parents and find out their side of the story? Or should I just walk away and leave the past in the past? I could use some advice, Reddit. What would you do in my situation? Update. It's been 2 weeks since I encountered Marie at McDonald's, and a lot has happened since then. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support on my original post. Your comments gave me a lot to think about and helped me navigate this difficult situation. After much deliberation, I decided to do some digging before making any decisions about helping Marie. I reached out to some old family friends and distant relatives to try and piece together what had happened after I left. What I discovered was shocking, to say the least. It turns out that Marie's sob story about our parents throwing her out was far from the truth. According to my sources, after I left, Marie continued to live with our parents. She brought Liam to live with them as well, claiming they were just friends and she needed support after her divorce. For the first few months, things seemed okay. Our parents, still believing Marie's version of events, continued to support her. They even helped her find a job and were paying for her therapy sessions, which I later found out she never actually attended. However, about 8 months after I left, Marie started pressuring our parents to transfer the house to her name. She claimed it was for security and promised to take care of them. Our parents, always eager to please Marie, eventually gave in despite some reservations. What happened next was truly despicable. As soon as the house was in her name, Marie and Liam sold it without warning. They disappeared with the money, leaving our parents homeless and broke. I was horrified to learn that my parents, now in their late 60s, were living in a small room in an old hospice facility. They were surviving solely on my father's pension, which was barely enough to cover their basic needs and medical expenses. This revelation hit me hard. I spent several days processing this information, feeling a whirlwind of emotions, anger at Marie's betrayal, guilt for not being there for my parents, and confusion about how to proceed. I decided to confront Marie with what I had learned. I went back to the McDonald's during her break and laid out everything I knew. The look on her face told me it was all true. Marie broke down, alternating between making excuses and begging for forgiveness. She claimed she never meant for things to go this far, that Liam had manipulated her, and that she was now trapped in an abusive relationship with him. While a small part of me felt sympathy for her, I couldn't forget the magnitude of what she had done. I told her I couldn't offer her any financial help, but I could give her information for local women's shelters and abuse support groups if she was serious about leaving Liam. She didn't take this well. Marie lashed out, accusing me of being selfish and unforgiving. She brought up old grievances, claiming I had always been jealous of her and that I was enjoying seeing her suffer. I realized then that she hadn't changed at all. She was still the same manipulative person who had caused so much pain in our family. I left her there, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. I had finally seen Marie for who she truly was, and I knew I had made the right decision in not helping her financially. Now, I'm faced with a new dilemma. Should I reach out to my parents? Part of me wants to help them. They're elderly and in a difficult situation. But I can't forget how they treated me, how they always chose Marie over me, even when I was telling the truth. I've discussed this with Abigail, and she's been incredibly supportive. She said she'll stand by whatever decision I make, but she gently reminded me that I don't owe my parents anything after how they treated me. I'm torn. On one hand, I feel a sense of obligation to help them. They're still my parents, despite everything. On the other hand, I'm afraid of opening old wounds and potentially inviting more drama into my life. I'm considering maybe sending them some anonymous financial help through a lawyer, without revealing my identity. But I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do either. I could use some more advice, Reddit. How would you handle this situation with my parents? Should I reach out to them directly, send anonymous help, or should I continue to keep my distance? Update. It's been about a month since my last update, and I wanted to share the latest developments in this ongoing family saga. After much soul-searching and long discussions with Abigail, I decided to reach out to my parents. It wasn't an easy decision, and I had a lot of reservations, but I felt I needed to at least know their side of the story. I hired a private investigator to locate them, as they were no longer at the hospice facility I had heard about. It turned out, they had moved to a small rundown apartment in a not-so-great part of town. I wrote them a letter explaining that I had learned about their situation and that I was willing to talk if they were interested. I included my phone number but not my address, still wary of potential manipulation. To my surprise, my father called me just 2 days after I sent the letter. His voice sounded older, more fragile than I remembered. He asked if we could meet in person, and after some consideration, I agreed. We met at a neutral location, a small cafe halfway between our homes. When I saw my parents, I was shocked at how much they had aged. My mother looked frail and tired, while my father's once confident posture was now stooped and uncertain. The conversation was awkward at first. There was so much unspoken hurt and resentment between us. But as we talked, the full story of what happened after I left began to emerge. They admitted that they had been wrong to always side with Marie. They explained how she had manipulated them, playing on their emotions and their desire to keep the family together. They confessed that deep down, they had known I was telling the truth about her affair, but they couldn't bring themselves to accept it. When Marie sold the house and disappeared with the money, it had been a brutal wake-up call for them. They realized too late the extent of her selfishness and deceit. They told me they had tried to press charges, but without proof that they hadn't willingly given her the house, there was little they could do legally. As they spoke, I could see the genuine remorse in their eyes. They apologized for how they had treated me, acknowledging that their favoritism towards Marie had been unfair and damaging. My mother, with tears in her eyes, told me how proud they were of the life I had built for myself, despite their lack of support. I won't lie, hearing their apology and their pride in me stirred up a lot of emotions. Part of me wanted to forgive them instantly and welcome them back into my life. But another part remembered the years of hurt and rejection. I told them I appreciated their apology, but that rebuilding our relationship would take time. I explained that I had my own family now with Abigail, and my priority was protecting our peace and happiness. They seemed to understand, expressing gratitude for even having this conversation. Before we parted, I gave them my contact information and told them we could stay in touch. In the weeks since that meeting, we've had a few phone calls. They're brief and sometimes awkward, but it's a start. I've also arranged for some financial assistance to help them move to a better apartment and cover some of their medical expenses. I made it clear that this help came with no strings attached. I wasn't doing it to buy their affection or to obligate them in any way. As for Marie, I haven't heard from her since our confrontation at McDonald's. Part of me hopes she's found the courage to leave Liam and get help. But I'm not optimistic. I've made peace with the fact that she may never be a part of my life again, and I'm okay with that. This whole experience has been a roller coaster of emotions. I'm still processing everything and trying to figure out what kind of relationship, if any, I want with my parents moving forward. Abigail has been my rock through all of this, offering support and a listening ear whenever I need it. I'm not sure what the future holds for my family relationships, but I do know this. I'm proud of the life I've built, the strength I've found in myself, and the family I've chosen with Abigail. Whatever happens, I won't let the pains of the past dictate my future happiness. Thank you again, Reddit, for all your support and advice throughout this journey. It's meant more to me than you can know.